What made you say, yep, I'm gonna die? I was mountain biking alone on Devil's Backbone Trail, a route I'd done probably 200 times over the past 3 years. It was my go-to stress reliever after brutal workdays. Just me, my bike, and the mountain silence that helped clear my head from office politics and deadline pressure. About halfway up the steepest section, I stopped to catch my breath and check my phone. My girlfriend had been texting me all day about dinner plans and whether I'd remembered to pick up groceries from that new organic place she loved, but when I pulled it out, I had 0 bars. Complete dead zone up here in the mountains. That's when I heard the deep rumbling growling echoing off the rock walls. I looked up from my phone to see a massive black bear about 50 feet ahead, standing directly in the middle of the narrow trail. This wasn't some small bear you see in nature documentaries. This thing was enormous, probably 400 pounds of pure muscle blocking my only way forward like a furry roadblock from hell. Behind me was a steep cliff drop that fell about 150 feet into jagged rocks and twisted metal from old mining equipment that had been rusting there for decades. The trail was maybe 3 feet wide at this point, carved into the mountainside by workers long dead. There was literally nowhere to go except past this bear or over the edge to certain death. I remembered reading somewhere online that you're supposed to make yourself look bigger and back away slowly without making direct eye contact or sudden movements. So I lifted my bike above my head with shaking arms and started taking tiny, careful steps backward, trying not to trip on the loose rocks scattered across the narrow path. The bear dropped to all fours and sniffed the air loudly, probably picking up my scent and the smell of the protein bar I'd eaten earlier. Then it stood up on its hind legs again, and I swear this thing was easily 7 feet tall. Its claws were the size of my fingers, yellowed and sharp enough to tear through steel. But then something even worse happened that made my blood run cold. I heard rustling and small rocks falling behind me. When I glanced over my shoulder, 2 cubs were climbing up from the cliffside, scrambling right onto the trail behind me with surprising agility and determination. I was completely trapped between a protective mama bear and her babies on a narrow mountain ledge with a death drop on one side and solid rock wall on the other. No escape route whatsoever. The mama started moving toward me slowly, making this low huffing sound that I could feel vibrating through my chest like thunder. The cubs were getting closer from behind, probably curious about this weird human sandwich they'd accidentally created. Their little claws clicked menacingly on the rocky trail surface. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears over the mountain wind whistling through the trees. I was literally sandwiched on this tiny trail with 400 pounds of angry mother bear ahead and 2 cubs cutting off my retreat completely. Every scenario I could think of ended with me either mauled to pieces or falling to my death on the rocks below. That's when I remembered my bike had this really loud air horn I'd installed last month for warning hikers around blind corners. It was obnoxiously loud, the kind that could wake the dead and probably violated several noise ordinances in civilized areas. I grabbed the horn with one hand while still holding my bike up with the other and started blasting it repeatedly while screaming at the top of my lungs like some kind of deranged mountain banshee having a complete mental breakdown. The cubs immediately scattered in panic, tumbling back down the cliffside with surprised yelps. The mama bear looked genuinely confused for about 2 seconds, like she couldn't process what this screaming human noise machine was supposed to be. Then she charged with absolutely terrifying speed. I threw my entire bike directly at her face and dove sideways into the thick bushes, rolling and tumbling down about 20 feet of steep rocky terrain. Branches were tearing at my clothes and face as I bounced between pine trees like a human pinball machine. Somehow I landed hard in a shallow creek bed at the bottom, completely soaked and covered in scratches. Without looking back, I just started running downstream as fast as my legs could carry me, splashing through the ice-cold water and jumping over fallen logs until I finally hit the main parking lot where my car was waiting. Never found my bike. Pretty sure that bear is still riding it around the mountain.